Hi. That didn't sound all that good. It's Elaine from Penguin Place Crafts. I do have a cough drop, so hopefully I won't be coughing too much during this video. Yesterday was what will probably be my last craft show of the year. I am toying with doing a Saturday show at McKinley Mall, which I did back in April, and it went pretty well for being a spring. It went very well for a spring show. But it's the Buffalo, New York weather area. It's the Buffalo, New York area. It's winter. I don't want to pay the $40 to do the show and then have us have lake effect snow that weekend and I can't get out to the mall. So I'm playing it by ear as we do in our family. Okay. So yesterday's show was at a senior center that's north, maybe about, I think the route that I was taking, it was about 12, 13 miles. So got there, found my space, was way at the back, got set up. It was sort of hot and cold with the customers. This is the first time doing the show, so there were, they didn't know how to advertise it, so attendance was a bit light. Every once in a while, I look around and try to count customers. I think the most customers we ever had here were about 20, and there were times where there would only be like 5 or 6 customers walking around. There were 21 vendors. 3 of them sold crochet items. The one left of me, my immediate neighbor on the left, sold crocheted hats. And then there was a vendor over against the wall, so 2 rows over, who also had hats and scarves and things. So I was the only crochet vendor with stuffed animals. I think I was the only vendor there with stuffed animals. So that worked out in my favor. The show started at 10. I didn't get my first sale until 10:34. Somebody came along. She was looking through my happy, sad coffee cups, and she said, "I'm taking your last happy coffee cup." It was one that I just made this week. I think I should have a picture of the 3 coffee cups that I made this week. So it's like, okay, I can make another one. So I did make another coffee cup, but I didn't have any brown yarn for the coffee. So this happy coffee cup that I made looks like somebody really loaded it up with creamer. I had off-white yarn, so the coffee is off-white. So sometimes my daughter will say to me, "Hey, going to have a little coffee with your creamer?" So that's the kind of coffee it is. Well, then about 45 minutes later, the show organizer came over and bought my last chunky bee. So I need to make some more bees. That got me up to within $3 of having my table paid for. $5, $12, $17. Table was $20. It wasn't until about 2 hours later that another vendor, she was over, like I was at the end of a row and she was up against the wall over to my right. She was with her father, who was selling copper bracelets, earrings, and artwork. And she came over and she starts picking stuff out. And she said, "Oh, here, can you hold these for me?" And she had grabbed my dress-up dinosaur, which is my own pattern. It's a dinosaur that has a little skirt that you can take on, take off, and it has a crown on the top. I designed it for my granddaughter who really loves dinosaurs. So she had that, $22. And then she was going through my bin. Nope, that's not it. Must be this one. This, oh, I put other stuff on top of it. But this is the bin of items that are $8 or 2 for $15. Like I have my mushrooms in there. That's where the little triceratops ended up. Who else is in here? Owls. This is the pattern. Gufo Ernesto, I think, is the pattern. Just my silly little monsters. A bunch of monsters that I made. Boop, boop, boop. I have such fun making monsters with dreads, because then you can just like wiggle them around and woo, woo, woo. Okay, so she was going through this bin. Can I put it back without spilling? Yes. And she got my triangle monster. I don't know if I made that one since I started making videos, but I just made a monster that was three-sided, and it had an arm on each side and a leg on each side and an eye on each side. And I said, it's nice, it's aerodynamic, it flies very well. She got that one. She got one of my little owls. She got a pop mushroom. And I called it my copper chicken. It was made with a sort of shiny orange yarn. And I did have it marked for $8. But I had a price tag on it that said like $8 for the chicken, $13 for the chicken with the nest and 2 eggs. I lost one of the eggs. So I put the nest and the 1 egg aside, just put the chicken into the bargain bin, and she bought that. So now I guess I'll have to find another chicken who needs a nest and make another egg and get eventually. And then she came back and she was digging some more. She bought both of my hamsters and the African flower turtle that I made with Karen anniversary cakes. So usually the African flower turtles are like yay big, but this one was bigger because I made it with a thicker yarn. And she was looking and looking at the Tutti Frutti Ballerina Kitty. I know I've got a picture of that because I just made it. She's like, oh, I can't decide. Oh, I can't decide. And I'm getting it. So she ended up spending $117. That may be the biggest sale that I have ever had to one customer in one shop before. I was shocked. I kept saying thank you to her for the rest of the day. A little girl came along and bought my Hilde the Highland Cow in retro stripes yarn, the one that I called Calypso because it was mostly blues and greens. That was $20. So I think with all that, I was up to $154 in sales. Only a $20 table fee. Okay, it's going pretty well. But then things really started slowing down. That was around 1:30 or so. And by 3 o'clock, traffic had pretty much died. There were no new people coming in. The show was supposed to go till 5. At 3:46, another vendor came over and went through the bargain bin, picked out an orange octopus. Okay, $8 more, $162 in sales. That's like average, and fairly low table fee. The organizers and the other vendors were all very nice. And I think I can talk. This was their first year doing the show. So they were going around and actually asking the vendors, what could we do to improve the show? We want to do it next year. What could we do to improve it? So, people were giving comments. So I think that the show could improve. I think they could cut the hours down to like 3 o'clock. Maybe if they were able to bring in a food truck. Food trucks always get people in. They did have a lady out in the front who had a little coffee bar. Problem is, all of her coffee beverages were caffeinated, and I don't drink caffeinated coffee anymore, so I couldn't try any of her samples or any of her beverages. I heard that her apple pie latte coffee was absolutely delicious, but couldn't try it. So I miss my friend Joanna. I mean, it's so much more fun to do a show with her next to me. But she just couldn't make it. She's supposed to go home today from the hospital. She says she's feeling well, and hopefully she'll be back to her old self doing shows soon. So I'd say, all in all, it was a pretty good show. Because things were a little slower. Oh, I finished up this guy. This is the ankylosaurus, the smaller version of the ankylosaurus waffles that I got from a YouTube tutorial by Complicated Knots. So I finished him up, was it Friday night before the show? I am in the process of getting all this stuff from the show sorted out. So in front of me, I have totes. I have a table set up, and there's totes for dinosaurs, turtles and owls, zoo animals, axolotls, Christmas stuff. I mean, so if you see me just lobbing something, that's because there's a box there for it, and I'm playing basketball. Okay, I did make another Happy Coffee Cup to replace the one that's sold. One customer, a few shows back, this is sad coffee cup. He says, you should make coffee cups so you can flip them inside out from happy to sad. Challenge accepted. Oops. Some of these, I think I didn't match up the yarn weights like with this one. I think the blue yarn is a few less or a few more wraps per inch than the white, so they don't fit together quite as well. This one I think is a better wraps per inch match. Yellow and red. And we have blue in this weird color that's like half orange, half red. So I made 3 of those. These are very close to my coffee cup pattern on my blog, but I just made 2 of them and then put them together and single crochet them together, and that worked. Oh, 2 out of 3. That's the light box over there, and I need to take pictures of those. I also finished up, all I had to do was embroider the smile on, finished up another fancy frog, and I made 3 pickles because I'm going to put up an Etsy listing for emotional support pickles. I found this, I did a chat GPT, the artificial intelligence chat. 3 for 3 about pickle puns. So I'm going to make these little signs that the pickles hold up. So I'm psyched about that. One more thing I did last night after I got home. I dismantled a mermaid that I made like probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I made it with 2 strands of yarn held together, and it just didn't look good. So now I have a Ziploc bag of purple, 2 different shades of tan, and white. So colors that I always use, I'm sure I will use them up. It's Sunday. I think I'm going to take a nap. And I'm going to go play with some yarn. So I hope you have some time to play with yarn too. It's back to my November goals. Got a lot of big things to restock. So that's what I'm going to do. So bye-bye.